Moses and the Exodus, a journey of liberation and faith. Have you ever wondered what the story of Moses and the Exodus can teach us about resistance, faith, and liberation? In one of the most powerful accounts in the Bible, we see an ordinary man being called to accomplish something extraordinary, to free an oppressed people and walk by faith, even amid great challenges. The journey of Moses and the Hebrew people, from the basket on the Nile to crossing the Red Sea, is a powerful symbol of transformation, trust in God, and the promise of a new beginning. In this video, we will explore this fascinating narrative and how it can inspire us to face our own deserts in life. If you enjoy content that blends history, faith, and teachings for your personal growth, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to stay updated on new videos. Let's walk together on this journey. The story of Moses and the Exodus, told in the first 15 chapters of the book of Exodus, is a grand narrative that transcends its time and resonates even today as a symbol of resistance, faith, and liberation. Set in the historical context of ancient Egypt, it reveals the condition of the Hebrew people, who lived under an increasing oppression imposed by pharaohs fearful of the growing population of the Israelites. This fear culminated in a cruel decision, the order to exterminate all newborn males, in an attempt to subjugate the Israelite nation before it could threaten Egypt's power. In this dark scenario, Moses' life begins extraordinarily. His mother, in an act of courage and desperate hope, hides the baby for 3 months and then places him in a basket of reeds, entrusting him to the Nile River. This act of faith leads Moses to the unexpected care of Pharaoh's daughter, who rescues him from the water and raises him as an Egyptian prince. However, even growing amidst the luxury and education of royalty, Moses does not lose awareness of his Hebrew roots and the suffering of his people, demonstrating from an early age a sense of justice that would define his life. His adoption by an Egyptian princess, an event of apparent privilege, highlights how destiny often manifests paradoxically, preparing him to face the future with knowledge and resources that would prove crucial. The turning point in Moses' life occurs when he witnesses the violence against a Hebrew and intervenes, killing an Egyptian. This impulsive act leads him into exile in the desert of Midian, where he rebuilds his life as a shepherd and husband, living far from the royal world. This period in the desert was not just a physical exile, but also a time of introspection and personal transformation. It is significant to note that the desert, a place often associated with dryness and isolation, becomes in the biblical narrative a space of preparation and encounter with God. During his time in the desert, he has a divine encounter that redefines his mission. A burning bush of flame that doesn't consume catches his attention on Mount Horeb. God reveals himself to Moses in this remarkable episode and gives him the task of freeing the Hebrews from slavery. This divine call not only reiterates God's power and sovereignty, but also emphasizes how he uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary purposes. Faced with the enormity of his task, Moses hesitates. He questions his own ability, feels inadequate, and asks for signs to confirm the divine presence in his mission. The dialogue between Moses and God not only reveals the reluctance of an ordinary man facing a supernatural challenge, but also mirrors our own insecurities when confronting challenges greater than our understanding. This doubt makes Moses an eminently human figure, mirroring our internal struggles with God's calling. But God is patient. He equips Moses with a staff that performs miracles and promises his constant presence, assuring him that he is not alone. Moses' return to Egypt is marked by confrontations with Pharaoh, who represents the pride and obstinacy of human nature at its peak. Armed only with his faith and God's power, Moses repeatedly demands that Pharaoh free the Hebrew people. The response is a hardened heart that refuses to yield. God then sends the 10 plagues upon Egypt, each one challenging a divinity or power structure of Egypt, dismantling the religious and political system in which Pharaoh placed his trust. These plagues, while bringing destruction, also serve as a series of lessons for both the Egyptians and the Hebrews. From the turning of the Nile into blood to the final and most devastating plague, the death of the firstborn, each divine intervention was not only a demonstration of power, but also a profound lesson about the fragility of man before the Almighty. These events echo even today, reminding us of the superior strength that governs creation. After the final plague, a defeated Pharaoh allows the Hebrews to leave, marking a moment of liberation that goes beyond the physical and enters the spiritual. The institution of the Passover in this context reinforces the meaning of deliverance. Each door marked with the blood of the Lamb represented not only protection from the angel of death, but also a renewed covenant between God and His people. This memory, passed down from generation to generation, reminds us of how God actively and personally intervenes in the history of those who trust in Him. The journey through the desert to the Red Sea represents more than just a geographical shift. It is a path of emotional and spiritual transition. Though freed from Egyptian chains, the Hebrews still carried the psychological shackles of slavery. They complained, doubted, and often questioned Moses and God's plan. This behavior echoes the internal struggle we all face, the difficulty of leaving comfort zones, even when those zones are filled with suffering, and embracing the unknown. However, it is in those moments of weakness and hesitation that God manifests His faithfulness. He continually guided His people with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, providing a tangible sign of His presence and care. The climax occurs when crossing the Red Sea, when the Hebrews are pursued by an Egyptian army determined to recapture them. Under God's direction, Moses raises his staff and the waters part, creating a dry path for the people to pass. This miraculous event is more than a divine intervention. It is a symbolic act of transformation, a transition from a life of oppression to a life of promise. When the waters return, destroying the Egyptian army, God reaffirms His power and protects His people in a definitive way. This crossing was not just about physical survival, but also a spiritual milestone, symbolizing a final break with the oppressive past and the possibility of a new beginning under divine guidance. The songs of praise that followed, led by Moses and his sister Miriam, expressed the gratitude and admiration for a God who not only liberates but also walks alongside His people at every step of the journey. These hymns were not mere manifestations of joy. They were public declarations of trust in the God who turns difficulties into victories and remains faithful to His promises. The echo of these praises continues to inspire those who face their own deserts and impossible seas. The songs led by Miriam, with her tambourine, accompanied by the people's chorus, proclaimed a God of justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Each note echoed the certainty that the one who freed their ancestors is also capable of performing miracles amid contemporary crises, and that trusting in Him will never be in vain. That moment of celebration marked not only the end of long slavery, but also the beginning of a new era filled with challenges and uncertainties. The desert awaited them, a place of testing and learning where God would forge His people's identity, transforming a multitude of former slaves into a nation destined to reflect His glory. Though the Israelites frequently hesitated, murmured, and faltered, the Exodus remains a powerful reminder of divine patience and grace, which never abandons those He has chosen to redeem. This story, though occurring millennia ago, carries timeless truths. It challenges each generation to ask, what does it mean to trust fully in God? How do we respond when our personal prisons, whether they be fears, addictions, or adverse circumstances, challenge us to take a step of faith into the unknown? Moses and the Hebrew people, with their flaws and moments of glory, become mirrors of humanity, showing that the journey of spiritual liberation is not linear but filled with ups and downs. Yet, God's promise remains constant. The one who began the good work is faithful to complete it. The story of the Exodus is an invitation to live with courage and faith, recognizing that the same God who parted the Red Sea walks with us today, guiding our steps and calling us to a freedom that transcends external circumstances. It is a journey not only to escape oppression, but to enter into the fullness of what it means to be truly human, a reflection of the Creator's love and power. I hope this journey through the story of Moses and the Exodus has touched your heart and brought deep reflections on how God works in our lives, even in the most difficult moments. The journey of the Hebrew people from captivity to freedom teaches us much about faith, resistance, and how to fully trust in God's purpose even when the path seems uncertain or challenging. Just as Moses was called to be an instrument of deliverance, we are also called to live with courage, knowing that God is with us at every step of our own journey. If you were inspired by this content and believe it could be relevant to others, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to receive notifications of new videos. Your support is essential for us to continue bringing messages that edify and transform lives. And if this video touched your heart, share it with your friends, family, or anyone you believe could benefit from this teaching. Together, we can spread the light and hope of the gospel to all. Thank you very much for watching, and may God's peace and faith continue to guide you. Until the next video.